So officially, my name is Paul Stoll. Welcome. I am the training manager for a group within UTO Training, and we help out with communication and training for projects large and small here across ASU. Today, we are very fortunate to have the rock stars of the PeopleSoft 9 project with us. We're going to start with Katie Reynes, who has been leading the project for us for almost 2 years now, 19 and a half months so far, and we're getting very close to a very large milestone, which we're very excited about in September. So Katie has been the captain at the helm to get us through all of the millions of details that go on with upgrading PeopleSoft. In addition, we have a bevy of experts here at the front that are going to help us with our presentation today. We have Jennifer Glosson, who is an associate registrar, did I get that right? And she is an example of one of the many, many departments that are working hand in glove with UTO to make the project work. So Jennifer's going to talk about the changes on the student side of the house. And with her is Bonnie Stoneking, who is a UTOian, and also Jen and Bon have been helping us shape the campus solutions part of the project for us. And their guidance has been just crucial. Next to them is Robin Gonzalez, and she's been helping us. She's been co-leading the human resources part of the project for us, and she's going to talk to us today about some HR deadlines that are coming up and what are the changes on the HR side of the house as well. So many of you have probably already benefited from hearing her talk as well. So we're going to kind of flip presenters around as we go through the presentation. There's only 25 slides. We had planned for 90 minutes total. So I bet we can't talk for a half an hour for 25 slides, and then the rest of that time is yours to ask questions. So if we do it perfectly and you don't have any, then we're done. And if you have lots of questions, we have lots of times to answer, because that's the biggest part of the presentation. So here's the agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about why are we doing this to ourselves? Why are we upgrading again? We're going to talk about the outage that's coming up in September. We're going to talk about when, how long, what's it going to feel like, what are some things that you should take back to your departments about. Then we're going to talk about PeopleSoft 9 specifically. As we come back up, we're going to be in a split environment. We'll talk about how you shouldn't be scared of that. And then we'll talk about what's new in Human Resources Campus Solutions. Finally, we'll talk a little bit about some new training that's available but not required. And then, of course, your questions. So we'll start in right away with why upgrade? So if you haven't noticed, ASU is a big, complicated place. It's August, so that's our month to be bigger than Ohio State. I think we kind of go back and forth. So lots and lots of people, huge amounts of data that's there. And we've now put all of that data into PeopleSoft. It has two sets of data that right now are connected in one database. We have student data, which we're now going to call campus solutions, and that's things like grades, financial aid, admissions processing, enrollment, all of that sort of stuff. And then we have, of course, human resources. That's payroll or paychecks, because I know I volunteer here. Is that what you guys no? You guys get paid? So our paychecks, benefits, and all of that sort of stuff. So over the last 19 months, almost 2 years now, we've had well over 100 people working on this project. Now we're small to, because we're getting close to the upgrade, we're into the almost the 200s and some working on upgrading the project as we go. And as we've gone through that, of course, we've found all of the myriad ways that PeopleSoft helps us do our business at ASU. So when we started to talk about, we need to make PeopleSoft go away for a bit while we upgrade, we said, well, what are the systems that are attached to that? And it seems like everything is attached to that. So we had to make sure that the doors would open and that kids could get their meals, and that DARS reports could run, that my reports, of course, all of that data comes out of PeopleSoft as well. And so almost any time that you go into a system of data on campus, at some point it has at least asked PeopleSoft for an update on that information. And so it really is core to our business. In any large institution like that, we're much bigger than having a set of student workers make an Access database that runs, on a Macintosh under a desk anymore. So we're much larger than that now. And as is the way of that, those systems often, we rely on other companies to run them for us that do that business better than we do, because we're in the business of education, not in the business of keeping those sorts of systems up and running. And so we have a hosted environment for PeopleSoft, as you know, and that system is is created by a company called Oracle. So anytime you have a large piece of software and that vendor upgrades that software, then you have a choice about what are you going to do about that. And so we have that situation now with us. Where we currently have a blended HR and CS system for support, and now Oracle is saying, well, the way that this thing is running across the world, because Oracle has customers all over the world, is that more and more places are splitting their environments. So they keep HR in one side and student in the other. So as a response to that, that's what Oracle is doing too, is they're splitting their product into two, into HR and CS. And so they're turning back to ASU and they're saying, why, sure, you can stay in 8.9 in the combined environment, it'll cost you. And so because we're slowly coming out of the downturn and because we want to stay on the most up-to-date versions, obviously we're going to pay attention to that. And so the reason for the upgrade is so that we can stay on the latest supported version from Oracle and also get into that space where we actually have the two sets of data that will be in separate environments but will talk to each other. So we get the best and least expensive support from Oracle and then we stay up with what's going on in the world as far as that goes. So that's why we've chosen to upgrade. One of the things about the split environment that's going to help us in the future is that now that we have that, we only will have to bring down one side or the other side at a time if we need to. So in this particular case, we'll talk about the timing of why are we doing this in September. And the short answer to that is that we tried to find this place where the two calendars crossed each other. In the future, we'll be able to bring down one side or the other, and so we can concentrate on one calendar or the other, and that will help us out in the future as we go. So there are some benefits to the split as well. But essentially, we want to stay in sync with what the vendor is providing for us. We want to make sure that ASU is getting the most support for the least amount of dollars so that we have money for other things like research and teaching and all of those more important things that are going on. So that's why we're doing the upgrade. So next, we're going to talk about the outage. Dun, dun, dun. And to do that, we're going to have Bonnie Stone come up and talk about the who's, when's, why's, and where's of that. And I've had to point very strongly at it and say, do that.
Be very demanding.
And tell it.
Okay.
No? There.
Okay, good.
All right.
Hopefully I can talk loud enough for all of you in the back. If you can't hear me, raise your hand. I'll speak up a little bit. Okay. So the outage, as promised, there will be an outage. We're going to talk to you about applications. Some will be affected and some won't. Paul kind of alluded to some of that. Also, then we'll talk about some of the communications that will be coming forward, and then how you'll be able to track and kind of know what's going on during the outage. And outage is kind of a big, scary word, but we tried to play a lot of semantics with it, and none of it really fits. So it's just kind of easier to say, it's going to be an outage, but it's not the entire world that's out. It's just a little bit of it. So, why September? Did anybody come to our earlier session we had a couple months ago? You kind of know why we picked September? Yeah, there's no great time. Between HR and campus, there's no great time. But we do know that it's not a peak registration time. We're in between payroll cycles. Thank you. Grading is at a minimum because that first A session hasn't finished yet. And a majority of students have already settled into what their schedule is going to be. If they pick their A session and their B session, they're kind of done. If they're kind of coming in late and just going to start in the B session, that deadline doesn't approach for a little while. There are a couple deadlines during that time, like apply to graduate and a fee payment deadline, but those are not entirely impacted because we still have some time at the end of the outage for folks to get those pieces done that they need. What I want to highlight is the calendar. If you guys grab that handout, on the back is the calendar, and Robin actually has a couple of key items that she wants to draw your attention to if you're dealing with payroll and business operations stuff. So you may not be able to see it there, that's why you have it on your handout.
So if you have it on your handout, as you can, for any of you that work in payroll and time approval, time submission, that kind of thing, you're pretty accustomed to the dates of when you have to have your PTRs done, when the PARs have to be done, when time approval has to be submitted. Those dates aren't changing. But what's important is to see that you've got to plan for things like recruitments that you might want to have underway or finished before the system goes down, because once the system is down, you won't be able to, for example, establish a courtesy affiliate number. So if you've got someone new coming in that will need email, you want that kind of thing done before the 18th would be the best day to get it done. However, you can continue through the 19th. The system will still be available, but there won't be any guarantee that we'd be able to get things done as quickly as we might normally because of all the preparations for the outage. So what you can see is the system we're hoping is down less time, but we're planning for a little extra just in case. And what that means for those of you that have PTRs and PARs and time to approve is that when the system comes back up, you have the 26th to turn around potentially a whole lot of time for folks that submit time on a regular basis to get it approved and PTRs that need to be done. So it's just making sure that you're ready for when the system comes back up. You've got your own staff and you've got messages from your leadership as to how they want you to handle that. So to be prepared for that. The other two key dates we've got, the immediate deadlines are August 31st, we are cutting off any department code changes. What that means is that if you need to shift a department from here to there, you won't be able to do that after August 31st. However, if you need to change a department code on a position, for example, that will continue as normal until the deadlines, the normal deadlines that are noted on the calendar. On September 1st, the Saturday right after that, we'll be cutting off any new establishment of direct deposit. So you want to make sure that you let your folks know, especially those that are new, that they need to get that done right away. And then for that time period until after the system comes back up, they'll just get a hard check. So those are the key deadlines. Paul has put our website out on the presentation all over the place. We've got it splashed as many places as we can. As there are changes to the calendar, we'll make them on that website. There's also a spot for announcements for any new deadlines or any new things that come up that we weren't aware of at the time that we created all of this. So visit back every couple of days to check for anything new that comes out.
Okay, so we kind of just want to reiterate, faculty and staff will not be able to conduct effort reporting during that time. Will not be able to post grades because those get posted to PeopleSoft. Faculty can still do all their classwork and their grade handling in Blackboard, but we can't finish out a class in PeopleSoft because we can't post those grades there. You won't be able to report sick or vacation. Anybody who's hourly won't be able to log in the system and report those hours. So it's kind of taking a mental note of that now so that you're either doing it right before or right after so you don't lose that time frame. Students will not be able to drop or enroll in classes. That's kind of simple, right? We said it was read-only database. They will not be able to act on any of their financial aid stuff because that goes back into PeopleSoft. They won't be able to report their hours worked. So if you have a student worker, they're going to have to write it down, keep track of it. And like I said earlier, not be able to change information on My ASU, but you'll log into My ASU and it'll look exactly like it looks right now. And then unofficial transcript, Jennifer mentioned that. So because that is actually a report that runs out of PeopleSoft, even though we brought those nice links out and students can go there and click on the link and run, it's actually a process that runs in PeopleSoft to build that transcript to put it out to a student. So
students will still be able to see their grades in My ASU, so the grades view, all of that will be there, so they can still see their grades, their cumulative GPAs, but they won't be able to actually run that unofficial transcript during this period.
any concerns, comments, questions about those key items? What will you be able to do? This is the good part. So keep track of these things. You'll be able to see the class list and the grades, like Jennifer mentioned. Use Blackboard and ASU Online, right? Everybody should still be going to class during this time. Using email, both Outlook and Gmail will be operational. Google Docs, My Apps, that's completely separate from PeopleSoft. Print and run a DARS report, printing at different facilities, even though students would have to have a Sun card or a card in order to print. That's not connected to PeopleSoft. Access doors like we talked about and get food and services they would normally get. So, extra click, got it. So communications, each group is going to be communicated in various ways. So students are going to get targeted communications. We're going to put posters up. You guys saw some of them back there, and I think there's more that's going to be produced. Digital signage. There's going to be places where they're going to see this information. My ASU ads. The state press, I think they already had an article, and there's more to come. Napkin holders. So when they're sitting over there having their lunch, they'll actually see something on there that says you're not going to be able to do these kinds of transactions for this time frame. They're going to get some emails and, of course, Facebook, because that's the only place they probably get any information. Faculty. We have targeted communications going to faculty. They're getting emails. They're going to see news articles, My ASU ads, because they have faculty pages on the My ASU, just like you have a staff page. Info sessions. They've been invited. They're welcome to come to these. If there's information here you want to share with them, please do so. Please send anybody to our website, peoplesoft.asu.edu, and faculty probably on Facebook as well, so they'll see some stuff there. But please, please, please communicate with faculty that you work with on a daily basis that they won't be able to grade that student in that time frame that we're talking about. Remember, that's starting September 20th. And then staff, you're all here because you got information somehow and you knew to be here, right? So however you're getting that information, if you're reading our emails or you're seeing our webpage, must be working because we got some people here, so thank you. And anybody in your office that didn't come, please point them to all these resources that we're giving out. There's going to be several more emails that come your way. They might have more information than you need, but please read them and share them. We're trying to get this out, and we can't hit everybody at every moment. This is our semester, and we know that this is a hard time, but we need you guys to have this information. So from here, we want to remind you, you can go to syshealth.asu.edu. And then we also have our Twitter. And if you don't currently get those messages, if you don't have a Twitter account, maybe that's not something everybody has or sees, but you can go to that syshealth.asu.edu, and the Twitter messages are posted on there. So at any time, even right now, starting of the semester, we've had a few bumps. They're posted on there. You will see when we go from red to yellow to green. You'll see what's going on. So during this time frame, you're going to want to pay attention to that page and be able to see where we are in the process. If something's gone bad and you see red on there, we're going to be able to communicate to you and tell you what's going on. From here, this is what you've all been waiting for. You're dying to know what's new, what's different, what are you going to get? Well, hope you're not disappointed because it's almost as, I don't know how to say it, it's not really exciting stuff. We told you earlier in our other presentation that it's going to be really minimal, so don't be too disappointed. It is going to be kind of minimal. So I'm going to let Robin tell you about the wonderful changes in HR, and then Jennifer's going to talk to the campus solution changes. So to start, we need to review that it's a split environment, and Paul's going to do that for us.
Bonnie, PeopleSoft isn't exciting? Give me a break. Come on, man. We're going to do this thing tomorrow. Okay, so we want to talk a little bit about the split. So this is a paint can. Hopefully, you're looking at that. It's a nice orange color. This is us right now. We have, it should actually say HRSA. Remember that when you go to the URL, that's what it says. So we're in 8.9, and we've got our paint can sitting there. And this is PeopleSoft as we have it now. So on September 20th, we're going to have a copy of this. It's read-only that we all look at. And then we're going to take the copy of that database and we're going to convert it to 9.0. Then, still in the outage, we're going to make copies. And we're going to create a CS side and an HR side. So now instead of calling it SA, we're going to call it CS, just because that's how we roll. They're going to be essentially the same data to start out with, right? So they're going to be very, very much the same. We're going to install a whole bunch of background piping that's going to let the two systems talk to each other in a dizzying amount of ways. So the nice thing that that's going to do for us, that little two-way communication bridge there, is that if you get in the wrong environment and you do something, it's going to work. Because we figured we really don't want to trip anybody up because the data is so important. So we're going to set it up so that even if you get into the wrong environment and you do an HR thing on the CS side or a CS thing on the HR side, it's going to work. Okay? Now the trick is, so this is what it'll look like on September, on the 25th, Tuesday, 26th. There's going to be two URLs now. So before you went to https://hrsa.oasis.asu.edu, I know that's so sad that I know that from heart. But now there's going to be two of them. There'll be an hr.oasis.asu.edu and a cs.asu.edu as well. So there'll be two different environments or instances or websites to go into that will talk to each other. So like I said, you can go into either one and do your business, and that's fine. If you're like, I can't handle two websites, I only need one, you could do that and survive. But we want to set good practices here because coming up at the beginning of the year, HR is going to become 9.1. So it's going to kind of deviate a little bit. And there's an awful lot of things that people want CS to do, and so there's going to be changes to CS as well. And then the next thing that's going to happen is we're going to go to 9.2. And they're going to get a little further apart, and that pipe is going to get stretched a little bit more. So as we progress through the next couple of years, those environments are going to be different from one another. So we want to set good habits now that say, go into the environment that you need to go into to do the business that you're doing. So in September, if you're doing, well, I have 3 student things and an HR things and 3 more student things, if all of that happens in one environment now, that's great. But what we really are going to need to get to is a place where we go, I'm going to do the HR stuff in the HR side and the CS stuff in the CS side. Okay? So get the message that we have your back. It doesn't matter where you go on September 25th, but we do want to set good practices as we go. So either instance, environment, website, URL will work. In my issue now, on the quick links, if that's how you get there right now, it says HRSA PeopleSoft. There'll be 2 links there. There'll be HR and CS. So you just click on the particular link to go in and start in on what you're doing. And that'll make it really easy for you. If you want to, if you're old school and you type it in, then you'll have to remember those new URLs. You'll have to put in web browser favorites if that's how you take care of that information as well. But there'll be the 2 environments that are there. Again, they'll talk to each other as you go, but try to establish which side or what you're going to do. So here's some examples. So on the CS side of the house, if you're going to go in and do student center stuff, e-advisor, class permissions, comments, roster contact stuff, faculty center, class scheduling, all of that sort of stuff are all CS things. On the HR side of the house, of course, the ever popular PTR, position management, job data, time management, all of that stuff is going to be handled on the HR side of the house. If you go in and you do time reporting, right, you just do that through time management and you go in and do all of that stuff. My issue is going to take care of that for you and make sure that you're in the correct environment. So if you start a lot of your transactions from my issue, like the PTR, for example, that'll take you right into the right environment and you'll be good to go. Okay? You don't have to worry about that. So start from my issue and things will be good. The next Robin's going to talk about the new things that are going to happen in the HR side of the house.
So as Jennifer and Bonnie have said, the good news is there aren't significant changes that are going to require you go to a lot of training to refigure out how to use PeopleSoft. Essentially what you see now will be what you see afterwards, and hopefully all the data behind it is accurate all along the way too. There have been hundreds and hundreds of people testing to make sure that that's true. There are a few features that we're a little excited about, but we don't know very well yet, so they're still kind of developing, but we wanted to at least introduce you to them because the screens will look different than how they do right now. So, for example, we have this new set of pages in PeopleSoft called profile pages. And what it does is it gives you a quick snapshot to the person-specific information for your staff, for your employees. So, for example, when you go to the person profile pages, right at the front you can see what their history of evaluations are. You'd be able to see what education they put into the system, any additional training that's put in there, any licenses and certifications, which I know, for example, the School of Nursing, that's really important. So this will give you a quicker way to access all of that stuff in one place. You'll get to it essentially the same way you do right now. So for those that are entering licenses and certification, you can get to that link through My ASU. You'll still do that once we go live with the pages. There are some features that we're hoping to bring live, but at the moment what we know is we can consolidate all of this into one shot for you, and hopefully those will get better as we get more comfortable with how they function. Okay, I have to tell it to do this? I didn't have to switch last time. So most of the changes and improvements on the HR side are happening behind the curtain. There are a lot of improvements as to how benefits are processing. We got rid of a lot of the modifications that we wrote right when PeopleSoft went live because we didn't know any better. So there are some processes that run behind the scenes that are more efficient. We found better ways to handle the same kind of business. But most of that will be completely invisible to you, we hope. And if all of our testing is successful, then, which it has been, then you won't even notice a difference. But things should run a little more smoothly. What it does do is it sets us up for a couple of big projects that are coming that expand the use of PTR and improve how we use it, as well as an e-recruitment system. How many of you are fans of TAM? Yeah. So, being as perceptive as we are, we have started working with a company called Conexa who offers an e-recruitment and onboarding system that is fantastic. And all of these changes that we've been making through the upgrade allow us to leverage some of the features in Conexa that will make e-recruiting so much more robust and beneficial to you. So we're looking forward to those two projects. So a lot of the changes we're doing right now set us up for some really great things in the near future. So hopefully all of this will be invisible to you. A few small changes that we'll make sure are visible to you and you have information about them. And of course, as questions come up with the links that Paul's got embedded in the website, check those pages because as we find out things, as we know we're going to be doing them differently, we'll be posting information there. Sorry, workflow. So the upgrade to 9.0 improved. So workflow is that thing that allows you to approve a PTR. I approve it, it gets shipped off to somebody else. They approve it, it gets shipped off to somebody else. The workflow features within the 9.0 version of PeopleSoft are greatly improved. We believe we'll be able to use more workflow options for things on the profile page too. For example, if you want your staff to enter in their degrees, for example, but you don't want them showing in the system until someone checks a resume or a transcript to make sure that degree is legit, you can have that request shipped off to a supervisor who then approves it. So there are some additional features with delegation that we're still trying to figure out, but we think we might be able to improve that a bit. Yes?
And when will procedures or information come on those?
Assuming we can figure it out before go live, we'd include that on the website and through the business officers' meetings, we'd share that procedural change if there is a change. Otherwise, it would come probably, I'm thinking it will be more likely to be a part of the PTR upgrade because right now that's where we use the most workflow. And that'll happen after go live, sort of before that February, March timeline.
Okay, well, I'm here to talk about what's new on the student side, or campus solutions, and I'm going to try to talk loud, so those in the back, raise your hand if I start to fade. So, how many of you use PeopleSoft for student information, just so I can get an idea? So we've got some groups. So again, as Bonnie and Robin and Paula mentioned, there's not a lot new on the student side, but I do have some things, and these are also indicated on your handout. So the first thing are service indicators. So these are called holds in holds. We call these holds normally. So when a student has a hold, usually their registration hold, often their financial aid disbursement holds, they've improved the service indicators in 9.0. In the current system, we have 3 different screens, and it's kind of always confusing which screen we can go to for which. So they consolidated those into 2 screens, and they actually have a new feature that we get to put an end date on a hold. And we're not going to use it right away when we go live, so I don't want people filling that in. But we will start to use that as we go forward, and we'll share that information as we develop those processes. So that's on the service indicators, or the holds in PeopleSoft. So really some changes for the staff, so it's just better to use those screens. Student groups. So if you use student groups, this is where you add a student to a student group, and they have something in common. So anyone in here use student groups? I'm not going to spend too much time on this. No? Okay, well there's some enhancements to student groups, and this is one area that you actually have to request a new role, and you can do it now. So if you have people in your unit who work with student groups, they should go in and request the role now, and basically it just helps us lock down security on these student groups. And we also get to see the last person who updated the record on the screen, which a lot of people have been asking. So that's a new thing for student groups.
Currently using student groups, and you currently have that role, you should have gotten an email that says, you need to go request this role again. So if you haven't, you probably don't work with student groups.
Okay, so some other changes on the student side. So overrides. Anyone in here give overrides to classes? Okay. So one small change is the class limit override is now called closed class. Same functionality, different name. So that's when a class is closed because the capacity is met, and you need to give an override. Instead of a class limit override, you'll give a closed class override. How many of you are class schedulers? Okay, got to use some of the same folks. There's a new feature called require permission to drop. We don't want you to use that yet. I have evil plans for how this is going to be used in the future, but we are going to develop some business processes. But if you're a class scheduler, you'll see this new functionality and you don't want to use it yet. Major changes. Any of you change majors or in here? This is another page where there's an audit on the screen, so it shows who did what when, which a lot of folks who work with student data are going to be really excited about. So we're excited about that one. Financial aid disbursement holds will work a little bit differently. They won't be a service indicator anymore. There's new functionality for financial aid disbursement holds. And how many of you might be roster contacts? Public grading. There's some cosmetic changes to the screen on the grade roster. Everything still looks the same. It's just the same button, like 2 inches to the right, and there's just a few cosmetic changes to the screen. Great. So that's it. That's all that's changing on the student side. And there are a few, again, cosmetic changes. Every once in a while you'll see a screen that's a little different. Again, placement of text or words. But those are things we're used to as we, upgrade a system or use new functionality. Do I have anything else? Any questions on the student side? Okay.
Are y'all let down?
Oh, it's not gonna hurt. Okay, favorites. So, many of you use favorites in PeopleSoft. That's where you can go in and you've gone through 6 different menus to finally get to the page that you want to use, and then you have to remember that over and over and over again. So once you get to that page, you can add it to your favorites in PeopleSoft so that it's there, and you don't have to use those neurons for remembering where those page navigations are. So we've been doing some testing, and the news is kind of So most of everybody's favorites that we've looked at have come across just fine, but there have been a few places where particular individuals didn't have any of their favorites. Some of them they had favorites, but the list was there. But a couple of their favorites went off to Mars. It just broke. And a couple of them had particular favorites that didn't show up on the list. So you had a list of 10 favorites, and then when you come up, there's 9 left there. So it's not great news. It was really hard to try to figure out what was there, and we haven't figured out down to the iota exactly what's going on. All we can tell you is that there's a chance that some of your favorites either may not show up or may kind of go to funny places. So we're asking for your help. There's a link here, and there's going to be a link on the PeopleSoft website later on this afternoon, links.asu.edu. PS favorites, that's a Google Doc that's open to the entire ASU community to write to. And there are pages out there for CS, HR, and service. So what we've done is we've gone out there and we've tried to fill in the majority of the favorites that most people have. So we've put in what the name of it is and what the common navigation is. So we'd love it if you would go out there, take a look at that, and add your favorites to the list, please. It's kind of a place where we can kind of help each other out. So look to see if your favorites are there. If not, feel free to add yours to the list. Please don't delete them as we go. And that way, then, if you come back up in the 9.0 environment in the split, and something bad has happened to one or more of your favorites, you can go back out to that document and pick up that navigation and then do it that way. Because we find that it's really hard to kind of harvest those navigations. There really isn't an easy way to do that. So we figured that now, since we have a whole set of time before we actually go down, that this is the time to do that. So if you would go out and take a look at that Google Doc that's there, and add your favorites that you see there. If you have any problems with it, then you can contact me directly, paul.stoll@asu.edu, or utotraining@asu.edu, and we'll help you navigate into that space. So that's a way to kind of keep all of those favorites that are there. And again, trying to get into that modality of CS, HR, and service, we've kind of put in kind of 3 different tabs there so that you can get to that. So it'll probably work fine. Really. Okay, training. So these 2 people are either smiling because they really like blue, or they love each other, or there's no training required or security rules that you have to ask for unless you're working in student groups. Sorry, student groups people. Yay! So there's no new training requirements. You don't have to jump through any hoops. It'll just come up, and as we've just seen, there's not a lot that's changing except for that whole split thing that's going on. However, we are updating all of the training. So we're taking this opportunity to go through and refresh the training and make it better. So what we're going to do, especially since most of our training is online, is that once we have a refurbished training shell in Blackboard, we're going to put a big announcement up that says this has been revised. So if you pop into one of those Blackboard shells, you know the Paralympics are over, you don't have anything to do at 11 p.m. at night. Oh, I'll go cruise Blackboard classes. Then if you do that, if it says on the announcement that it's been refurbished, then there's new information that's out there. It's just better information, more robust information. We've had time to figure out how ASU uses the stuff. So it's not like it's a good refreshment for you, but refresher for you, but not required for you to do your job. The other thing that we're going to do is, as we update those classes, then we're going to send a courtesy email out to the people who have that particular role or have been enrolled in that class and say, by the way, this class has been updated. You're welcome to come back out and take a look at it if you'd like to. And then people moving forward will have access to that new information as well. So we're just going to kind of do that class by class, and we're going to try to be light on your email as well, but we're going to tell you when new classes are available. So that's all good news. You don't have to take anything, but better stuff is coming. Another thing that we're rolling out is the User Productivity Kit, the UPK, Universal Productivity Kit. And what this is we're tying this into the actual help button that's in PeopleSoft. So if you go into, when you come up in the new software, when you click on help, you'll get a list of the different common routines that you do, procedures that you do in PeopleSoft, and you'll be able to look at them in a side-by-side window that will take you step by step through those procedures. In addition to that, you can also choose to see a full screen simulation of it so that you can just review what the procedure is, or you can also print out a job aid that gives you the step-by-steps for that. So it's just kind of a way to go. It's for those procedures where you do them like once in a blue moon. Oh, I need to go in and do that, and I don't remember, and where's that training guide, and blah, blah, blah. You'll be able to click on help and do that. So in order to make that list, it's not like all of PeopleSoft just is automatically done. We have people who actually go in and create those procedures one at a time. So right now, as we're starting up, the list is kind of short. It's probably in the 10 to 15 procedures as a start for that. And we're looking for nominations for procedures that you'd like to see up there again. So either contact us through the PeopleSoft site, utotraining@asu.edu, or directly to me if you want, paul.stoll@asu.edu. Tell us which procedures you're very interested in having attached to the help icon that's there in PeopleSoft, and we'd be glad to make sure that that happens. As we pull up for this first go around again, it'll be kind of 10 or 15 procedures so you can kind of look at what it feels like. And then if you go, oh yeah, I'd like to have these 17 million things done, and please email us and we'd be glad to help out with that. So good training coming that you don't have to take, woohoo, and the University Productivity Kit, which gives you context-sensitive help as well. Okay. So I do want to bring up both of those websites just for a minute, just so that you can kind of see the information that's out there as well.